please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Hello everyone, welcome back to a Megon 2 Electric Boogaloo. Before we dive into today's response video, please consider smashing the like if you haven't already. If you're new, hit the subscribe, and if you want to support the channel, please consider doing so by becoming a member. Thank you. The video we're going to be taking a look at today came from Libs of TikTok's Twitter account. They had tweeted, "Female has breakdown over being misgendered. This is what gender ideology does to young, confused people. Incredibly sad," with my favourite reply underneath that being, "Maybe China winning isn't such a bad idea." There might be a point to that once we get into this, but we should not of course prejudge anything before we've seen it, and I would ask you to do the same. Looks could be deceiving, you never know. Oh, it really is though, am I right?
Tell me why I just got misgendered at the pharmacy getting my testosterone needles.
Well, there are a number of factors that make this quite difficult. Firstly, you privated your account, no doubt because Libs of TikTok tweeted your video out and you got a fair amount of flack for the ideas you espouse that may not align with the vast majority of the court of public opinion. The second, because that's not how these videos work. Without having access to your content that you've hidden behind a private because big brave, I do not have the context to understand why you at a pharmacy were prejudged to be something else. Now, I could insert a third point and say that I'm feigning a level of ignorance because I want you to tell me so I can try and work out if this is a form of discrimination or if perhaps somebody made an accidental slip. Yes? But this is all anecdotal based, so it is anecdotal evidence and therefore a lived experience that can or cannot be disregarded depending on your interpretation of what they present as fact. Yes? Does that make any sense? If I've provided anyone with a level of confusion, I'm not remotely sorry, because that sounds an awful lot like a you problem, as if the mental gymnastics of me trying to work out what happened and how it's so incredulous, on the face of it, from that intro bit alone, wasn't baffling enough for my pea-sized brain. Alright, it's like Stegosaurus-sized.
I literally introduced myself saying that I'm a trans man on hormone replacement therapy.
If you're going to a pharmacy, do you not just say, you're there to collect and then insert your name for prescription purposes? And then the pharmacist goes and gets it, confirms some details, and then hands you your medication after you've paid for it. Is that not how this works? It does in the UK. We go to a pharmacy, we give our name, they get the prescription or the name of the person we're collecting for, they ask for the address, ask if you pay for it, if you do, you sign, you pay, and you sod off. Do forgive my lack of knowledge and or understanding of the American system. I'm sure it's also state-based, perhaps county-based as well. Differing systems, different cultures and environments. So where I would ordinarily start with, but did you have to tell anyone you were a trans man, is it actually anyone's business, would have been what I would have asked if I knew more about how America works.
And I'm inject myself with testosterone, and I'm here to get the needles. And it's because I usually get it mailed to my house, but they mailed me the syringes and not the needles, so I came to get the needles.
Seems all above board so far, pretty standard stuff, no real issue on my part. I wouldn't want to mail needles to anyone really. Medication, yeah sure. That option is available in the United Kingdom as well. But the syringes, I do think you should collect those in person. I think that should be a way of making sure that no one is taking advantage of that facility to use them for something else.
Tell me why this woman yells across the room, she needs needles so she can inject her medicine.
The short answer is I can't, because I know nothing about who the woman is, what the woman does. We have no video evidence of this almost Karen-esque behaviour. We only have what you now tell us, and it's short, brief, anecdotal. And a little sensationalised. It has to be to get views, right? Not that any of us can tell how many views it got. Your account is private. But we can surmise it could potentially, if we're acting in good faith, be a Freudian slip, an accident. It could have simply been a case that they looked at you and believed you pass as a female, acted on that, perhaps they were not the person you were speaking to, and they spoke on the person you were speaking to's behalf without knowing that you are a trans man collecting your testosterone needles. You see, we can theorize all of this crap, because you're not providing enough information, and TikTok videos, by the way, can be longer now. Do better, and we, my oikory self and many others, won't be given so much opportunity for ammunition to launch at you for spreading minor misinformation or not providing enough context. Okay.
Who is she?
I'll be honest here, my dude. You haven't told us. So if you don't know, how the hell are we supposed to know? Although we can surmise this is a form of indignation, because apparently we're supposed to know who you are. But also they're supposed to know who you are because you've told them you're a trans man. That should be enough information for them to work from, but one must be offended. We have discussed this on this channel, on Rumble, in many places in fact. It is less about identity and more about making sure that you can be as angry as humanly possible, unless you use xenopronouns, as angry as humanly possible so you can shame someone else and eventually take it to the extreme conclusion. Shermination.
You cannot tell me for a second that this is the voice of a woman.
If you want me to be a massive dickhead, I can say actually yes, because there is something about your voice that has been altered. It sounds like a form of auto-tune, so when one hears it, it doesn't come across as having the natural cadence of that of someone who is biologically male. That is not to say all biological men sound the same, of course not. In fact, if you spoke with a marginally Irish accent, I'd believe you were a Scouser, because you have the correct pitch to be a Scouse male. If you are Liverpudlian and take offence to that, again, that sounds like a you problem. Liverpudlians are renowned for not being able to take a joke. But you are right, your voice is not inherently female. It's somewhere stuck in limbo, because it hasn't fully gone to where it could go once your therapy reaches a certain point, unless this is the final form of your voice, in which case some are going to think it sounds a little like it's trying to break, akin to that of puberty, but failing miserably because something hasn't dropped yet. I can't imagine what, but something hasn't dropped.
Or the presentation. I mean, I have facial hair, my voice is deep.
You do know, though, that some women have facial hair and their voices are deep too, right? This is where gender gets quite baffling now, because you now have trans women, or people who identify as trans women, or people who identify as women in general, who are biologically male, have beards, long hair, chest hair, spotty, deep voices, greasy generally, maybe a bit on the pleasantly plump side as well. It is rude to assume one's gender, we are constantly told, and yet, if someone presents as male, it is harder to distinguish between male and female until you tell us. Now, you have said that you had stated you are a trans male. Okay, you didn't tell me your pronouns though, did you?
Also, I told you from the start that I'm a trans man on testosterone.
You realize my previous comment still stands though, right? You can tell someone you're a trans man, male presenting perhaps, but unless you specify your pronouns, you are taking offense over someone using pronouns that you have not specified as being incorrect from the offset. These are the parameters that society is being forced to operate under. Therefore, it is not a case of one rule for me but not for thee, or only I am allowed to be correct, only I am allowed to present the information and you must make of it what you will. Do your research and you could tell me that trans man means he, him. But the reality is, according to many people who espouse ideas that are very often considered woke, when it comes to gender ideology, you've got to be incredibly specific. Otherwise, you're just getting offended for the sake of it, which you are proving quite aptly.
And I know sometimes people just make mistakes, whatever the fuck, they're just insanely ignorant. But no, this was intentional, and I'm fucking annoyed, and oh my god.
Not to be too much of a dick, but if you're trying to be a man, your response is not very male. I know it is considered quite toxic male to be more of a turn the other cheek, look the other way, ignore, be bigger, better, stronger. However, sometimes with something like this, it is not a mountain molehill thing or molehill becomes mountain thing. It is you need to be the mountain, ignore the molehill, because that one person is making you hate life. That's what they're doing, so you can be indignant and share it all over your TikTok, which means sod all really, because TikTok, in the grand scheme of things, it is just an excuse for you to use it as a free therapy session, to make it seem like society is against you so you can hate life. One person made a mistake, apparently. That is not enough of a reason for you to act like a irrational individual. Let's go with that.
But honestly, joke's on her. That was embarrassing for her. Because when she yelled across the room with she, her pronouns for me, you should have seen the looks of the other people. They were like...
Yes, because that totally told her who the boss was, who the Mac Daddy of it all is. The looks of the customers, the plebs, the oiks that come in for the supplies, the medicines. Those looks mean something to her. Also, aren't you assuming her pronouns? It's not one rule for me, but not for thee. You've got to get this confirmed. We've got to be very specific and not remotely nebulous.
Like, yeah, we're on the same page here. Nothing about this says woman. What the f***?
Ignoring the fact you look like an emo boy, which could also just be emo in general as most of them look identical, male or female. The one thing that makes you female, or a woman, is that extra X chromosome you have. If you remove a limb from it, you'd be biologically male. I'm not denying your gender, by the way. I'm just being a pedantic shit. I will stand by my original point. Unless you specify your pronouns, they have not misgendered you. You have not provided them with the suitable context. Of course, this is one anecdote. It could be fabricated solely so you can rage about a non-issue. You're the one that still used the pharmacy though, so I doubt much was accomplished and nothing of value can be considered lost. I have no doubt also you're more than likely going to go back to that pharmacy anyway, because creatures of habit are predictable. They normally operate with a low IQ. Hi,